Leading psychedelic medicine company MindMed began trading on the Nasdaq just moments ago. The biotech company working on a pipeline of medicines based on psychedelic substances including LSD and MDMA. It says microdoses of hallucinogenic drugs could treat mental health issues including anxiety, addiction and ADHD. Joining us now is JR Rahn. He's founder and CEO, co-CEO of MindMed. JR, fantastic to have you on the show, and congratulations, by the way, on today's listing. There will be people watching that are thinking, what on earth is this company doing? Just explain to me what the focus is for MindMed.
Well, I think most people, Julia, look at us and see three letters, LSD, at least most of the venture capitalists did in the beginning days of MindMed. But the reality is we're a mental health company. We are treating a very, very big problem in the United States that is now affecting 40% of Americans in either having some form of a mental illness or an addiction during the pandemic. And so psychedelics are just the catalyst to really look at this space entirely differently.
I mean, what caught my attention when I was reading about you was a phrase that you used, and it was that you were hoping to create an antibiotic for addiction. The use of the word cure. I mean, without being too complicated with the chemistry, how does this work? Because again, to your point, when you hear LSD, the last thing you think is that's going to help someone with mental health issues or with addiction. So how is the science actually going to work? Because it has to be about the science.
Well, completely. And for some of the programs that we're working on, we're working with what we call psychedelic assisted therapy. And the two words at the end are very important to remember. Psychedelics are not going to be panaceas that solve all the world's problems and mental health issues. They are catalysts for patients to embark on a journey and have an experience that they can then transition back into their normal life. Integration is going to be a key component of that. Therapy sessions afterwards, in the weeks and months following. This is not a one and done, but it is what we think one of the most innovative approaches to mental health in the last 25 years.
What has the conversation with investors been like, and how has that evolved even over the last 5 years? Because, again, bringing this to market, getting investment from investors, I just wonder whether even just the last year and what we've been through perhaps has changed people's mindsets about MindMed.
Well, last year, I think the horns on my head have gone away. When I first
Congratulations.
Thank you. When I first walked into Sand Hill Road in Silicon Valley, 2.5, 3 years ago, nobody wanted to touch this. We were persona non grata. We were laughed out of rooms. But I think, COVID-19 has really put mental health in perspective. And if psychedelics can be the solution to mental health, then Wall Street and institutional investors are waking up that we just, as a society, have not allocated capital in a proper manner. We spend $3.5 trillion a year on healthcare in the United States. Less than 10% of that is allocated towards behavioral health, which can have as a big impact on your body as your physical health. So I think what investors are understanding, and now with NASDAQ accepting us, this industry is growing up, and it's not necessarily a fringe investment theme anymore. This is going mainstream.
Define what's different about what you're trying to do here versus, I think some people here, again, will be listening to this and making a comparison with cannabis. You're not hoping for future deregulation and an ability to take these medicines or use them. What you're looking for is actual medicines that have FDA approval that can then be adopted by physicians.
We're looking for evidence-based clinical trials that go through the one way that you make a medicine on the market in the United States, and that's the FDA pathway. And in order to do that, we have to do some work. This is not going to be a quick process. This will take time. But once we can eventually, one day, when the FDA wants to make a decision on an approval, it will be available in all 50 states. That's vastly different than anything that happened in the cannabis space. And so this is really a mental health play. This is not about making your Burning Man experience a better experience. We're interested in treating mental health.
How far away are we from that, from actually having drugs with FDA approval on the market that people are using, assuming the trials that I know you're already starting and engaged in go well?
I think we're 3 to 5 years away before you see a psychedelic on the market. There's multiple groups working on it. We are one of them. This is a whole new field. One of the, a lot of people focus on the trials, and that's important because we need to prove that something is safe and effective. But the other thing that we need to work on as a company and as an industry is to make these medicines accessible. We don't want to make a therapy that's only available on Fifth Avenue. That doesn't help the problem. These need to be accessible in all disenfranchised communities across America. 60% of US counties don't actually have a psychiatrist. So MindMed is looking at how can we scale therapy and psychedelic-assisted therapy through technology, because ultimately, I believe scaling it is the blockbuster drug.
What's the key and what's going to be the biggest challenge?
Comes back to that. There are just very few psychiatrists in this country. We don't have mental health infrastructure. We need to re-engineer and rebuild that, and we need to do it now more than ever. This, COVID-19 has just wreaked havoc on our mental health, and I think the lingering effects of mental health are going to be bigger than what happened during the pandemic, and that's really sad.
I couldn't agree more with you, and it's not just about America, it's all over the world. JR will set you loose on the entire healthcare system here, though, in the interim. JR Ron, stay in touch, please, and keep us updated on your progress. Founder and co-CEO of MindMed there. Thank you.